SERA History, stories of wars, remarkable people, ancient civilizations, forgotten places, powerful ideas, and extraordinary events that shaped human history. How could people living more than 4,500 years ago build one of the largest structures ever created, without cranes, engines, or modern machinery? At the edge of the Egyptian desert, an enormous stone monument still rises toward the sky. The Great Pyramid of Giza. For thousands of years, its size and precision have inspired legends, theories, and one enormous question: how was it actually built? The answer begins not with slaves struggling beneath a blazing sun, but with an ancient civilization possessing remarkable organization, engineering knowledge, skilled workers, and an extraordinary understanding of stone, mathematics, and the landscape. Around 4,500 years ago, during Egypt's Old Kingdom, Pharaoh Khufu ordered the construction of what would become the Great Pyramid. The pyramid was designed as a monumental royal tomb, intended to preserve the pharaoh's body and support his journey into the afterlife. But before the pyramid could rise, something had to be found first: the perfect location. The builders selected the Giza Plateau, a massive limestone formation close to the Nile. The ground was strong enough to support an enormous structure, while the river provided access to transportation routes. Then came the stone. Most of the pyramid was built from enormous blocks of local limestone. Some stones were transported from quarries farther away, while the fine white limestone used for the outer casing came from SERA, across the Nile. Even more remarkable were the massive granite blocks used inside the pyramid. These came from Aswan, hundreds of kilometers to the south. So how could ancient Egyptians move stones weighing several tons? The Nile was one of their greatest advantages. During the annual flooding, waterways reached close to construction areas. Workers could load stone blocks onto large boats and transport them downstream toward Giza. Once the stones reached land, another challenge began. Moving a massive block across dry ground required enormous force. Ancient Egyptian images show workers transporting heavy objects on wooden sledges. Water could be poured onto the sand in front of a sledge, reducing friction and making the movement easier. But getting the stones upward was an even greater engineering problem. The most widely accepted explanation is that ramps were used. Exactly what those ramps looked like remains debated. Some possibilities include straight ramps, zigzagging ramps, or systems that gradually wrapped around the pyramid as construction rose. Whatever design was used, the basic principle was simple. Instead of lifting massive stones straight upward, workers could drag them along a gradually rising surface. And the pyramid grew, layer by layer, stone by stone. The lower levels required enormous quantities of material and extensive labor. As the structure became taller, construction became increasingly complicated. Workers had to coordinate quarrying, transportation, cutting, positioning, food supplies, tools, housing, and thousands of individual tasks. This was not simply a construction project. It was a massive national operation. Evidence discovered around Giza reveals organized settlements where workers lived, ate, and worked. Archaeologists have found remains suggesting that the workforce received substantial food supplies, including bread, meat, and beer. This evidence has transformed the traditional image of pyramid construction. Rather than being built entirely by chains of enslaved people, the monuments appear to have depended heavily on organized laborers, craftsmen, engineers, and seasonal workers. During periods when agricultural work was limited by the Nile's flooding, large numbers of people could participate in state construction projects. The workers were supported by an enormous logistical system. Stone cutters prepared blocks, transport teams moved them, craftsmen shaped surfaces, surveyors established measurements, administrators organized supplies, and supervisors coordinated the entire operation. Precision was just as important as manpower. The Great Pyramid was originally about 146.6 meters tall. Its four sides were aligned remarkably closely with the cardinal directions. The builders also created a remarkably level foundation across a huge area. Without modern surveying instruments, achieving this required sophisticated techniques. They could observe the sun and stars, use simple measuring tools, establish straight lines, and carefully level the ground using water. Inside the pyramid, enormous stones were positioned to create chambers and passageways. The king's chamber, constructed from massive granite blocks, was protected by layers of stone above it. The builders understood that the enormous weight pressing downward had to be controlled. The result was a structure that has survived thousands of years of weather, earthquakes, human activity, and the rise and fall of civilizations. And yet, the pyramid was not originally the bare stone monument seen today. Its exterior was covered with smooth, polished white limestone. Under the Egyptian sun, the Great Pyramid would have appeared dramatically different, bright clean, and almost gleaming against the desert landscape. At its summit was a pyramidion, completing the geometric form. For generations, the pyramid remained the tallest human-made structure on Earth. Its construction may have taken roughly 2 decades, although the exact timeline remains debated. What makes the achievement extraordinary is not simply the size of the pyramid. It is the coordination required to create it. Thousands of workers had to perform countless tasks in the correct order, year after year. A single stone was only one piece of the puzzle. The true achievement was the system that connected the quarry to the river to the construction site, and the construction site to the final monument. The Egyptians did not possess modern machines. They possessed something different: planning, mathematics, practical engineering, skilled craftsmanship, and the ability to organize enormous human effort around a single goal. Today, the Great Pyramid of Giza stands as one of the last surviving wonders of the ancient world. Its builders left behind no complete construction manual. The exact design of every ramp, every lifting method, and every stage of construction remains uncertain. But the stones themselves tell a remarkable story. A civilization looked at an empty plateau and imagined a monument that would reach toward the heavens. Then, through generations of labor and engineering, that impossible idea became stone. More than 4,500 years later, the Great Pyramid still stands, not because its builders possessed technology beyond modern understanding, but because they mastered the technologies available to them with astonishing precision. The mystery is not that the Egyptians had some forgotten magic. The mystery is how far human ingenuity could reach with simple tools, powerful organization, and an extraordinary vision. This is SERA history. If this journey through one of humanity's greatest achievements was worth discovering, subscribe to SERA history, like the video, and leave a comment with the ancient mystery that should be explored next. More extraordinary stories from history are waiting beyond the horizon.